deal with the second one first, and then go back and deal with cultural dilution, because I do want to touch base on that very briefly. I have not supported the entire get out of the UN bill, just because I do think there is some value to having existing infrastructure organizations where you can get together and talk to other people. I think there is true value in that. I'd love to take a look at the way we allocate the costs and so forth, and who has to pay for the place. And I also think there are, if you're paying all the money, you should be able to have some type of participation. I do support a bill that Jeff Duncan has offered the last couple of years, which is that if you don't vote with us in the UN more than 3/4 of the time, you don't get any foreign aid from us. I think there might be, I don't like giving money to people to hate us when they'll do it for free. By the way, I stole that line from Louis Gohmert, one of my favorite lines. Why pay people to hate us when they'll do it for free? I don't understand this concept of foreign aid to countries that do things that are so violative of our principles. The way they treat women, the way they treat children, the way they you go down the list. Why we give money to countries who are so violative of our basic American principles is I think is a fair conversation. But I do not support getting out of the UN entirely, because I think there can be value there under certain circumstances. And that's okay. We can disagree. That's fine. Regarding losing our sovereignty, I think that's a real issue. I also think it's slightly overblown. For example, I've seen the emails that say that there is a UN treaty on small arms that is going to take away our right to own guns. That's just false. Okay? And I encourage you, I never get tired of saying this, if you get an email that looks like it might be some type of news account or factual account or something about something, and at the bottom it says, click here to donate, it might not be entirely accurate. It's not designed to educate you, it's designed to get you angry enough to click here to donate. So send those to me, by the way. Some of them are true. We get some of them all the time. My favorite is the 29th Amendment that supposedly Warren Buffett offered that said that we need to make sure that Congress participates in Social Security, and Congress goes on Obamacare, and I don't get free student loans. Those are all lies, by the way. I am on Obamacare, as I mentioned to you before. I do pay the Social Security. I do not get free student loans. There's only, I think there's only one law that I know that doesn't apply to Congress, that applies to everybody else, but that's Freedom of Information Act, which is legislative process. But anyway, so there's a bunch of stuff you get on the internet that's not true. Send them to us. We'd like to bunk them or debunk them as we possibly can. To your first question about cultural dilution and Europe. Listen, Europe is going to have to decide what Europe wants to be. That's their decision. I do encourage you to consider the possibility that one of the challenges that Europe faces that is different from us is they have no experience at all with assimilating foreign cultures. It's who we are, and it's what we do. Now, we have never done it on any large scale with a non-Christian group of people. And that is a new challenge for us, okay? But we've never done it on a huge scale with folks who don't share the basic Judeo-Christian background that I know of.
And the
But I will,
Constitution.
What about the Constitution?
They don't share
I like
the love of the Constitution.
Listen, Ben Carson, I see some of you with the Carson thing. Ben Carson, I thought, gave the wrong answer to a question. And I like Dr. Carson. I like all of our candidates, by the way. But I thought Carson could have done a better job on the, would you trust a Muslim to be president? It's something that is very, very personal to me. I'm Roman Catholic, by the way, which puts me in the minority in this room, for sure. But John Kennedy got asked essentially the same question in 1960, which is, who's your first loyalty to, the Pope or the Constitution? He said the Constitution. That should be the answer that Dr. Carson gave, which I'd be completely comfortable with a Muslim president as long as the Constitution trumps their religious values. Because you can't reconcile the two. You cannot have the Muslim view in the role of a woman in society and defend the Constitution. So as long as your priorities...
Or be a Christian.
Yeah, well, you can't be a Christian if you're Muslim, yes.
That's what I mean. No,
Right.
do like play free women.
That's not Christian, but that's not.
Oh, yes, okay, that's fine. Well, I think we're agreeing. But the point of the matter is that, now I lost my train of thought. No, that's fine. It's okay. We do have a tradition of assimilating people. And by the way, it's, oh, they don't speak the language, oh, they don't go to the same church, oh, they go to the same schools. Any Greeks here? Anybody Greek expert? You are not going to find a more patriotic group of American citizens than Greeks. Okay? They speak Greek at home. They go to a different church than we do. They go to a different school than we do if they live in a big enough community. They actually actively encourage their kids to marry within the community. Doesn't sound like a very assimilating thing to do. But I challenge you to go find me a Greek who is in a great America. The question is, Are you willing to put your American identity ahead of whatever it is you used to be? That's what I think we do well. And if folks from Syria can figure out a way to do that, then God bless them. Clearly that's not happening in Europe, and it's something that we should look very, very closely at, because of what happens, this is one of those true things you read about. There are suburbs in Paris that the police will not go into. There are suburbs in Paris where French law does not apply. It is Sharia law. In Paris, as a Paris suburb, it's 1.5 million people, and 600,000 of them are Muslim. Now they're from different countries and so forth. That is an example of how it goes wrong. And that is an example of assimilation gone bad, or no assimilation at all. That has not been our experience traditionally, and I hope that when we finish the pause on the Syrian refugees, we can figure out a way to make sure that when the people do come over, they assimilate and they become Americans. I thought Marco Rubio, put a good plug in for him, gave one of the best answers I've seen in the debates so far about the English language. Somebody said, oh, you should speak, I speak Spanish, by the way. Many people accuse me of being for amnesty because I speak Spanish. I never forget, I gave a town hall meeting in Gaffney in Spanish, and in the Spanish language I said, I don't support amnesty, and somebody walked up to me afterwards and said, can't believe you support amnesty. I'm like, did you not listen to the translation? They said, oh yes. They said, well, you heard me say I don't support amnesty. I said, yes. I said, why do you think I support amnesty? They said, because you speak Spanish, and if you speak Spanish, you must be for amnesty. These things drive me nuts. Anyway, I've lost track of all that. You've already asked, so I'm going to skip
I
you.
just have
Yep.
a comment.